Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Now, I have two rye whiskeys, and they're both straight rye whiskeys, meaning they age at least 2 years, and they got no coloring or flavoring added. And they're both from Kentucky, and they're both Jim Beam, James James B. Beam Distilling Company. They're both Beam products. Suntory Global Spirits. Now it's dark, but I see the sky is blue, bluish. So dawn is coming now. This can go for about 2 more weeks, three maybe. Then it'll be so dark that it won't be practical, it won't really be dawn at this time. So as the days grow shorter, you understand. So anyway, but I'll try to let the natural light come in. Oh, dropped. Hold on a second. Then we'll look at these products. So from what I can understand unofficially, because they don't really officially release any of this information, but from what I've been able to read and understand, they're more or less using the same mash bill. It's kind of like the same product, but they treat them differently. They're given different treatments, different aging, uh, different, different proof. They bring some down to 100 proof, like the Knob Creek, and then this one down to 80. So they basically taking the same product and flipping it different ways, sort of like Sazerac does with their different products. So anyway, bourbon or rye. So here's Old Overholt, introduced in 1810. So it's the oldest currently produced rye whiskey brand in the United States. And you see the keystone because if this thing will focus, it started in Pennsylvania, actually, not Kentucky. And it was an independent company, Abraham Overholt Distilling Company, and they were around a long time. And they always have his drawing of him on the label. It's never been an expensive rye. It's always been like, just a regular premium priced rye whiskey. Not a budget price, but just a normal price. And I found this at Walmart years ago. If this thing would focus, I'd be so happy. And it was $15.98. Now price has gone up quite a bit since then, but it was $15.98, and they had a good deal on it. And not all, but most of your liquor stores sell it. Oh man, this camera. And it's just a common product. It's not celebrated as any kind of great award winner or it's amazing. It's just a basic rye whiskey. So it got bought by Beam Suntory, okay? I think this was 93 or something like that. And they shut down the distillery in Pennsylvania. There it goes. Finally it focused. Golly gee. And they moved all the production to Kentucky. So that's why now the bottles say originated in Pennsylvania, not produced. Now you might find an old 40-year-old bottle, because I have found bottles like that in stores, really old. And but you got to look at the label and see if it says produced in Pennsylvania. They just abandoned the property. I saw a video on YouTube, and those people were either brave or silly or both, because they were walking all around the distillery making videos. It's all in a shambles and seemed very unsafe. Like some of the flooring was rotted, like you could fall through it. So I would say, well, it was amazing to see it. Somebody did a video like that for the Falstaff Brewery in New Orleans, which has been purchased and turned into apartments. So it's still standing. But Old Overholt, I'm sure they have signs, don't trespass or what. All right. So that's it. It's Kentucky now. But yeah, I have found old bottles. I found an old bottle of Seagram's Canadian Hunter. Seagram's Canadian Hunter. And they sold that. Seagram sold that product to the Sazerac company in 1989. And they just changed the name to just Canadian Hunter. No Seagrams, common sense. Although they still do own some Seagrams brands, more recent acquisitions like Seagrams VO. But the Canadian Hunter, they just obviously dropped the Seagrams off of it because Seagrams was still an operating company from 1989 until 2000. So would have made no sense to keep that on it. But we found an old bottle, and I found, here's Knob Creek. This is a half size. I bought 2 halves to make a whole, and they were really cheap, $6.99. They just had a few in a discount basket, not many. And I figured, I wasn't really looking to buy this. Usually it's like about $27, but if I can get a full amount for $13.98, yeah, I'm definitely going to buy it. And I couldn't understand, like, why would you have Knob Creek so cheap? That's pretty popular. But then I realized they had discontinued this one last year. They introduced some new ones, 7-year age, and then there's a 10-year age. So they slowly phased out the non-age stated. So if you look on their website now, they don't refer to this at all. It's just doesn't exist, because literally it does not exist in production anymore. But like I say, you might find bottles lingering around. So back to that Canadian Hunter, the Seagram's Canadian Hunter did taste different from the current Canadian Hunter. The current one says Canadian whiskey with natural flavors. The old bottle just said blended Canadian whiskey. But that doesn't actually mean much, because you can add natural flavors to Canadian whiskey and you don't have to put it on the label. You don't even have to disclose it. It's up to you. You mean you can disclose it, but you don't have to. All right, so that's the story on that. So regular price, Old Overholt run you about $20 today, $20.25, and Knob Creek probably around $27, $28. Maybe somebody will have a discount on it. I don't know. But it's going to take so long to get through this one that it'd be years before I need another rye whiskey. I've got a little collection there on open, the new Jim Beam rye, which I haven't even cracked, and I've had that over a year. And I thought I was getting a deal when I got it for $13.99. I was like, how cheap? And then a month later at Total Wine had it for $11.99. I said, whoops. Okay. But that's the breaks. Now, I'll show you the websites for what it's worth, which isn't much because they don't list these particular products on there. Just give you an idea of the websites. Old Overholt, introducing Overholt, Abraham Overholt, crafting the next chapter of American rye whiskey. So that's it's called Monongahela Mash. That's an upcharged version, like above, what you call it, above premium. In the bottle and bond, which I know where to find that, Dorgnax, and nobody else sells it. Then your regular Old Overholt, which 4-year aged, 86 proof, non-chill filtered, so that it slowly changed over 4 to 3 years. And there's a locator tool, which seems to be pretty accurate. And then there's a history section. Even have a photo of the old man. He lived long enough to even have a photo taken of him. Might have been a daguerreotype. There was an old type where the image was reversed, like a mirror image. That's all they had, and then they improved photography. Photography actually started in France. The French invented that, and they even had color photography back in the 1800s, but it was so difficult to do that they didn't do it. But there are existing color photos from the 1800s. It's just the process was so difficult and expensive that it wasn't practical. It just wasn't really practical until the 1930s, honestly. But there were some people that did autochromes. That was an early color film auto process, which was very nice photo. They came out nice. It just it was trouble, you understand? But and then when it came out with Kodachrome, that changed it all. But those were true photos, not color. I'm not talking about colorized. No. But back to this 86 proof, 4-year age, and chill filter. That's the current old Overholt. Now I do have a bottle, and it was about $20. There's some old look. There's a photo of some old bottles from years ago and current. If you go to these distilleries, they have a huge collection of old bottles that they've saved over, in some cases, over a century, because they knew, they had, even like me, saving cans and bottles. They know it's going to change over the years, and so they just kept those. When I went to Jack Daniels, they had these fabulous old bottles, and even some of these they used to make, or maybe they still make, but not too much distributed, like some kind of like, some was, I think it was called like Tennessee Crown, American blended whiskey, Tennessee classic corn whiskey, but they might not make that anymore. Or on the other hand, they might make it and just sell it around Tennessee and don't go out of state. Some like cheap bottom shelf stuff that money, but they probably don't really want to focus on it. I know Sazerac puts a lot of that stuff, but they're not going to talk about it, showcase it. Now here's Knob Creek. Now Knob Creek is a Beam brand. It always was a Beam brand. It was never bought out by Jim Beam because it was created by a Beam company as a high grade whiskey, like a craft style whiskey, we call it. They wanted to kind of build up their image because Jim Beam had a reputation of whiskey and people looked down on it and so forth. So some of the leadership of the company said, why don't we try to make some little nicer stuff, try to compete with the better products. And they said, okay. And they put out Knob Creek. And I think another one was Booker's. And there's some other ones. So that really, and these are wax, which is hell to get off. I found that out. Yeah, they had a lot of success with the upper scale. And even Jim Beam now, they make upper level Jim Beam that would be very pricey. Although most people buy the regular one, you see. But those are the history of these companies is so fascinating. Beer, wine, liquor, doesn't matter. All their successes and many times mistakes, and then some of the companies don't survive. They don't make it. They get bought out or they just close down in some bad situations, or they choose to leave the business, like the famous Seagram story. The people that own Seagram's like literally decided, let's get out of the liquor business. We're the biggest liquor company in the world. Let's get out of the liquor business. We got other things we want to focus on, which I guess we'll find that to be bizarre, but that's what they wanted to do. It's their business. So I'm about to turn the lamp on. I don't want to do that. Okay, you can see it's getting lighter and lighter. Look at that. Daytime has arrived. Well, dawn, that midpoint, the transition point. I think I'll be able to tell these apart because even though they're basically the same product from the same distillery, they are different proof, 80 versus 100. I think you'd probably not confuse 80 versus 100. I know the old Overholt is 3 years old because it says it on the bottle, 3 years old. And I missed the boat on this one. See, I saw this at Walmart, right? And then they had some next to it on the shelf that had a red cap. And I didn't understand that. I just thought that, I thought that they had just changed the label. I didn't pay any mind to it. And then I got home and I realized that it wasn't. So I said, oh, let me go back to Walmart tomorrow and I'll get the black cap. And then I'll have the black and the red, the 80 proof and the new 86 proof, 3-year age. But I went back and they were all gone. I said, oh, man. And my friend David tracked this down at Dornax, and it was $17.99. He tracked it down. It took about 6 months to find it. It was a pain, but I did find it. Thank you, David, because I had given up hope on tracking it. Because I figured, well, they discontinued it, and I'll never see it. But they had one bottle. They had one bottle left on the shelf, and he found it. So that worked out. So I can't, I was just confused. What can I say? I was confused by the label. I just thought it was a different label, but not a different product. Yeah, it smells like rye whiskey. You get that mintiness and that spiciness, like black pepper, but of course it contains no pepper. It's just that rye has that unusual quality, which is why it's not as popular as corn or wheat or barley, because it's a little divisive. Some people find it off-putting. You tell them rye bread, oh no, they won't eat it. They won't eat the rye bread, no way. I like a Reuben sandwich though, but yeah, just some people don't like it. I like it. I wouldn't want it though. I wouldn't want rye whiskey every day, and I wouldn't want rye bread every day. But occasionally, I like it. Same aroma, but it seems milder. So they both smell like rye bread. I'm serious. You get a loaf of rye bread and smell it and taste it, and then drink these, and you'd be like, oh, it's the same thing. Now, these are not 100% rye. They don't make any claim to that effect. And unofficially, people on the internet, you know what I mean? No, I mean, they'll say that it's only 51% rye. Well, possibly, and maybe I should say probably that's the case. And that's the requirement. A rye whiskey has to be at least 51% rye. The other 49% can be any other grain. Could be corn, wheat, malted barley, a combination of the three or two of the three, you know, so it's up to the distiller. As long as it's 51% or higher rye, it's called a rye whiskey. Straight rye would have to be aged at least 2 years in new charred oak barrels, just like bourbon, and no coloring or flavoring added. Now, if it just says rye whiskey, no straight, if the word straight isn't on the bottle, some of those will be out 1 year age, 1 year, believe it or not. And they might have flavoring added, because if you read your regulations, it says they could have flavoring added. Allowed, not required, of course. And I do have some non-straight rye whiskeys, which are unusual in their flavor. And it does seem like they probably have some natural flavors added. What those are, I do not know. But it does give you the impression that there's something being put in there that's not, you know, the grain, just the grains and the yeast. On the other hand, I did not make the regulations, so I can't, you know, disparage that. If it's allowed, it's allowed. Yeah, this tastes just spicy, minty rye. It's like a menthol cigarette versus a regular cigarette. I don't smoke cigarettes, but you know what I'm saying. Like bourbon would be like your regular cigarette, and rye would be like your menthol. Kind of look at it in that sense. That's a good analogy. Or cigars. They have those little, you know, those little packs of cigars you can buy. It's the same size as a cigarette. And they got the regular, and they got the mint, the menthol. The menthol, it has mint in it. And then there's like those sweet ones, like the white label would be like sweet, sugary, and those kind of things. All right. And some of them are even flavored, which, like whiskey, some are flavored. This one seems stronger, although the aroma was weaker, I thought. The flavor is much bolder and the body is heavier. And this one seems like it's the Knob Creek. It's got a lot more heft to it. It's got to be the 100 proof. Let me go resip. Much milder. Or if you want to say more watered down, and that's actually what the case is. So is the flavor the same? I would say yes, pretty much the same. So in flavor, yeah. You don't care about proof. You say, man, I don't care about all that proof. I'm not into all of that high proof stuff. It means nothing to me. Fine, then get the old Overholt and you'll save $10. What the heck? Or at least $8. Now, if proof is important to you, and it is to many, then obviously you'd want to get the Knob Creek. But on the other hand, you could get 100 proof old Overholt, which would still be cheaper, but not by much, $3 or something. But so yeah, that's your option there, because they've always made an old Overholt 100 proof, just less common. But say Dornas has it. So it's all a balancing act. It's what you want to put into the equation, correct? Old Overholt. Let's see what they're showing on Total Wine. Bizarre. This is bizarre. Let me show you this. This is crazy, right? But this does happen. This does happen. Here's Old Overholt. They've got two bottles, a liter and a standard 750, or handle as people call it in the old days. Notice something. They're the same price. They're both $20.99. Now, who in the world would pay, if you're paying the same amount, why would you not buy a liter? Obviously, you would. Now, is that the typical price? Probably not, but that's what it's going for. Today, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, I can go there and buy the liter. So common sense, I'm buying a liter. Now, if I check in a week, it'd probably be different. You see. Do they sell any other variants? No, they don't. Well, they might sell a Overholt. Let's almost typical a Overholt. No, they don't mess with it. They don't. I guess they don't want it. They can't sell everything. They sell a lot though at that place. Let's see, Knob Creek. Rye. Let's just come on, man. Why is this thing not cooperating? See, they only show the 7-year because that's all they have now, and the 10. So you're looking at $28.99. Like I just said, $8 more. So it's $8 more. And I know Dornax got the 100 proof Old Overholt for about $24.99. So is it worth the extra $4? I've only tasted the Old Overholt 100 proof once, but it does seem very, 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 very similar to the Knob Creek non-age stated. So think about it. But anyway, we talk about 7. So the 10-year is $67.99. Well, that's getting a little pricey. But it is age 10 years. So there you go on that. Now the question, did I get it correct? I'm thinking yes, but I'm going to find out right now. I'm saying this is the Old Overholt. Good product, yes. Worth buying, certainly. Just a regular old, just a regular old whiskey for making Sazeracs and stuff like that. Not that I would make cocktails, but I know most people do. But I'd just drink. I would, if I drink whiskey, which I don't, I only do these tastings. If I just, if I was somebody that would come home from work and have a whiskey, I drink beer when I get home from work. But I would buy this. This is the regular. This is the 100 proof. Did I pour these correctly? I'm thinking I didn't. Oh wait, yeah, I did pour them correctly. What am I thinking? I had my tags confused in my mind. I'm sorry. This is the competitor. The Old Overholt's the competitor, not the main. It's not the control group. The control group is the Knob Creek. It's going to battle everybody else. So I'm sorry about that confusion. Get your mind right, man. Yeah, I knew that wasn't right. Yeah, so clearly different. You could say, yeah, that's not really a good challenge because 100 proof versus 80, who in the world is going to confuse those two? And the answer would be nobody really. So yeah, that's kind of a washout. But once I get to the 90 proofs, which most of your rye whiskeys, you notice they run around 90 proof, that's going to be tough because 90 to 100, that's only a 5% alcohol difference. So that could be a little more difficult. But anyhow, starting off with 1 win, no losses. And I'd like to have a 100% victory record in this, but I don't see that happening. But the mezcal was difficult. Oh man, that was so difficult. I was shocked that I got most of them right, but I got a lot of them wrong too. But those Joven mezcals can be so difficult, so hard. Except in some isolated case like Luminar, the very bizarre Luminar, which tastes nice, just doesn't taste like mezcal. And the even more bizarre Monte Alban, which I don't know what that tastes like. I don't even know how to describe it. Cornbread and earthworm or something. It's not. There will definitely not be a repurchase on that one. I can guarantee you that will never happen. And if somebody gave me a gift, I'd give it away. I'd give it away. I wouldn't even open the bottle. I'd say, oh, no, don't want that. All right. So 2 wonderful products here, 2 winners all the way. It's just whatever you want to pay. You get the Knob Creek for about $27, $28 shopping around, and Old Overholt $19 to $22. I wouldn't pay over 21 though. If you pay over 21, something's wrong. Something's definitely wrong. All right, y'all take care, and see you tomorrow, God willing, for another Dawn Buster.